Now, if you've been looking to get into 3D printing or you're an experienced 3D printer, one of the things that you'll find is that 3D printing takes time. Something as simple as this can take an hour to print. Well, what if I tell you that this can be cut down to 16 or 17 minutes? What if I told you that something like this can take around 9 hours to print? A print like this used to take a little bit over a day, almost 2 days to print. Today we're going to be talking about the Creality K1 and the K1 Max, specifically the K1, which is a brand new printer along the lines of ultra fast printing. We're talking about 600 millimeters per second. If you're wondering how fast is that, that's 12 times faster than a normal printer. So we're going to take a look at the printer, we're going to look at the features, we're going to see it print, and I think you're going to fall in love with it as much as I have. This thing can print fast. Let's go ahead and check it out. Now, as you heard, the Creality K1 series of printers, and there's actually two, there's a K1 and a K1 Max, can print super fast. And we're talking about 600 millimeters per second fast. Also, it has enormous acceleration that's going to give you an experience that is 12 times faster than a standard printer. Now, in our specific experience with the version that we have the K1, which has a build volume of 220 by 220 by 250 millimeters. We actually printed this model that you see here and several other things that you're going to see in a couple seconds. Now, this printer, in addition to having fast speeds, also has great temperature ratings, which is going to give you a lot of flexibility when it comes to the type of material you're printing. The nozzle itself is going to have a 300°C max temperature, which is fantastic. The bed itself also has great temperature at 100°C, and the bed can reach 60°C in 180 seconds. That is very fast. And if you've gone into 3D printing, or if you've heard of anyone who 3D prints, some of the things that take the longest, at least for a printer to start, is heating the nozzle and heating the bed. So this has ultra fast in that area. Now, it has a dual gear direct drive extruder, and it has a 32 millimeter per second max flow rate hot end. So what this translates is just the fact that you're going to be able to print some great material types, and you're going to see all those materials in a second, at a very fast speed. Now, the one thing about this is that even with that speed, you don't sacrifice quality, and you'll see that. So also, this printer also has hands-free auto leveling. One of the things that, as I've been 3D printing for years, is that when you get a new 3D printer, you go through this dance of leveling. And you're tightening some screws, loosening some screws, you're using a little sheet of paper to level this thing, and you're just trying to make sure that things are leveled right. And you'd love to be able to just open the box, take it apart, take out all the foam and things like that, and then just turn it on and have it self-test and level itself. And more, the new 3D printers like this, they are printing out of the box in a snap. So the same thing is true with the Creality K1. Very simple to work, very simple to start. And that's important for anyone who is a pro or someone who is new at 3D printing. So love the fact that it has this auto leveling. It also has a self-test, one tap, that you can just hit a button and it's going to test itself out. It also has this G sensor that is going to be improving the overall print quality. So typically there's something that's referred to as ringing that takes place on a print, where it becomes very visible that there is a ring inside of the print as it's laying down the filament. With this G sensor technology, you eliminate that completely. Now, the other thing is that the frame. This is using a unibody die-cast frame that, I'll tell you, when Nilda saw it, and we get a lot of 3D printers, many of the 3D printers have to go directly in our garage or have to go into our basement where we have other 3D printing and testing. And she says, man, this thing looks great. This looks like an appliance. And I have to agree with her. It is a great looking printer. In addition to having this die-cast frame, it is good looking too. It looks like it's something that could belong in the home. Now, it also has auxiliary cooling systems. So it has an auxiliary cooling fan in the chamber that's going to help cool off your print so that you can have some improved print quality. USB drive for printing, and then also has Wi-Fi as well. So you can either take a USB stick, plug it in and print, or you could do Wi-Fi. It also has onboard memory, which is really neat too. So it's going to keep track of your prints, and then if you want to go back, you just have to click on a button or click on the screen and you'll be able to print again. Now, since the K1 is enclosed, you have a lot of material that you can print with. Also, the fact that the nozzle reaches 300 and the bed goes to 100, you're basically seeing the fact that you can print ABS, PLA, PETG, PET, TPU, PA, ABS, ASA, there are a whole host of different materials, which makes this something very unique because in the market, when you're going to look at a printer, sometimes you get a printer that will limit your printing material type based on the type of printer that you have. This is going to give you a wide range of prints that you can choose from when it comes to material. Now, the most common one for someone who is not super advanced is going to be PLA. That's what the majority of stuff is printed. But if you're looking at material that will be heat resistant, right? That's going to be stronger. Then you're looking at materials like ASA, ABS, and then yes, you could even do some that are mixed with carbon fiber. That's going to give you a lot of flexibility. Now, the model that we have, the K1, doesn't have this, but the K1 Max does. And you do get an AI camera, an AI LiDAR, and that is going to inspect the prints and give you the ability to see what's going on inside of the printer as it's printing. And those are features that come with the next version. But it's something that this version, you'll be able to see kind of like what you can expect, but without those features. Now, as I mentioned in the intro of this video, I talked about how good this printer looked and that it looked like an appliance. So I decided to do the review in our kitchen so you can see how it looks. It even looks like if it was a wine cooler, like one of those little refrigerators where you would put wine because of how this thing looks right here. Yeah, so I know that's kind of crazy, but anyways, that's one of the things I wanted to mention. Now, very good looking machine, and what we'll do first is we'll just talk about the aesthetics. So basically what you have is in the front, you have a door, obviously, and this is a glass door that's going to give you access to the actual printer. You see that you have a relatively large display, very colorful display that's going to give you everything that's going on in the printer. And by the way, when you connect to this wirelessly, you're able to actually see all of the controls or temperature, speed, everything that's about this printer as it's taking place, and even how much time it's going to take to complete the print and the progress of the print through the actual browser. And in this case, what you see here are all of the different features that are going on, but we're going to take a look at this in a couple seconds. And now, as we open up this door, what you'll notice is that you have inside here, we have the print bed. And I would say that this print bed, it is a flexible sheet, but it's not a PEI sheet. It's more like a cool sheet. And let me go ahead and bring it out. So you can see that what the sheet looks like right here, right? So it doesn't have any texture. One of the things that I do like is these cutouts. So you can see these cutouts that it has right here. I like these cutouts because with these cutouts, as you're putting the tray back into place, it kind of, you can make it align a lot easier than some of the other trays that don't have those 2 points, because as you're putting it in, it helps you align this automatically. Now, the thing about this is that you should use a glue stick. I've been very fortunate where I haven't had to use a glue stick at all. I've been using this with just cleaning it with alcohol, the isopropyl alcohol, and I've had great adhesion, no problems at all. Now, what you also notice is that here you have the actual print head. You do not have carbon fiber rails going left and right. I did talk to Creality about that. They said that these are even more durable. I'll include that in the description or in the comment area for you guys to see. But pretty much you can see all the workings. You also then see inside that there seems to be some expansion areas. So I see that there's some cabling here that's exposed that, and we're not exposed, you have some ports. And I would expect that that could be for a camera, like that you can mount a camera on this side. So I think that this is going to be something that ultimately is going to be expandable. They have not said this. It's just mine. As I look at this and I see that there are little plugs that are available, it seems like you can put more to this printer. So I'm going to go ahead and close this door. The very top also is removable. So the top itself, and we'll see that in a couple seconds. I'll turn this around, and then you can see what the enclosure looks like right here. Now this side, even though the front is glass, this is kind of like a plexiglass, right? This isn't glass. So I like the way it looks there, and I'm going to continue to turn it around. And then in the back here, what you find is your spool. Now, I gave feedback to Creality, and I actually had the honor to meet one of the co-founders in a local Chicago 3D printing convention. And I highlighted the fact that, you know, having the spool in the back was something that was a little bit troublesome for me. They mentioned that they placed the spool in the back to help with the calibration and the balancing of the printer, as they wanted to make sure that they can continue to have high quality prints. I would love to see this somewhere else. Maybe what we could do is have it separately, or if at any point they have an AMS solution like Bamboo Labs does, then this will not be necessary. But would love to be able to see this not on the back, because it's kind of like a pain when you want to change it. And what I'm doing here is I'm using not the fast Creality filament, which I did use. I started using eSUNs because I wanted to see if there was any quality losses if I was using just, standard PLA. And so far I can report that my experience has been really positive. I haven't had any failed prints with this. Now you'll notice here in the back that you have again, this is where your filament is going through, right? And this is your filament sensor, so it does detect if you have run out. You have your power switch here as well, and then you have the power, and then here you have a fan, right? We'll turn this back this way, and we'll flip this around. By the way, if you're wondering what I have there, that is a Zender power bank. It's a battery backup solution, and if you are ever contemplating, which I know a lot of you go to craft shows, farmers market, this is a great little solution that basically will power the printer, will let it run, and you can have a portable printing solution wherever you go. So that's an option for you guys. I'll include that link in the description area. On this side, you can see what this side looks like here. Obviously, there's no fan on this side, so it's a little bit clearer. But this is a sexy, sexy printer. Now, one of the things that they also included, which I appreciate, is they included these little rubberized feet. What these little rubberized feet are going to do, and they're on the bottom here, they basically are going to give you support so that as it's printing, you don't get a lot of vibration. So again, this is what the printer would look like. So let's take a look at the menu, and then we'll take a look at the prints. All right, so focusing on the menu, we'll press the home. Basically, this is going to give you details as to what's going on in the printer. Right now, we don't have anything going on, so there's no temperature or anything like that going. The first thing that we can see here, this is the home page. You have the ability to turn on and off the lights, which I like right here. You have the ability to turn on and off the fan, right? So here you see the model fan, the side fan, and then the back fan. So you can turn any of those on if you'd like. Let me go back there for a second. You do have here the ability to, again, extrude filament or retract it if you would like to replace it. And then we'll go back to this area here in your settings area. You see, again, the temperature settings for each one of these. We're going to turn this on in a second so you can see how fast this is. Controls for Z, right? And your X, home, and then you have your different settings there for movement. Here you can see these are all the models that we've printed, right? So that's in memory there. You can look at see if you have a USB drive, and this is the history. You'll notice here that a Benchy was print, and that Benchy was print in 17 minutes. So this thing can print really fast. The other thing is, if you look at this, let me go back. The Optimus Prime that we printed, you can see that right here. This guy printed in just 11 hours. Let's go back to just to make sure that was the number. We'll go back. Yeah, so 11 hours and 11 minutes, right? Could probably made it have gone a little bit faster, but that's what we went with, right? And so it's telling us how many minutes it took, and then also the filament that it actually took up in order to do that. And then what I could do is I could hit print if I wanted to print it again. Keep in mind that this one required support. So as I printed this guy, I printed him like this. So it had support. So it took a little bit longer because of the supports. Now, the other menu that you have here, if we go into settings, you'll be able to see screen brightness, the timeout for the screen, the language settings, the device self-test, which I think is pretty cool. And then also you have your time zone setting. You also have the ability to go ahead and set up your network. Now, in the system area, one thing I wanted to also show you is here you do have the ability to look at firmware updates, and it looks like there's another firmware update right here. And they are constantly making changes to this, which is really good. So I've seen a lot of firmware updates, which is, I think it's really welcome, because when I think about some of the other printers that we reviewed on the channel from Creality, it does take longer to distribute them, especially if they're not online. And what I like to see is how much they're improving this printer. Now, this version that I have here has had several improvements. So I was scheduled to get this printer as a pre-release unit, but they held that back because they wanted to make some changes, and they made a lot of changes. So my print experience on this has been extremely positive. I've had no issues, and I've been running this pretty continually, running different prints from the USB stick and from other areas. So here you can see this, that they have some additional changes that are going to be taking place. We'll go ahead and download this, and so you can see the download. The process for the update is pretty painless. It's fast. We've gone through several updates, and what I love about the updates is that I've seen improvements in the areas that they have highlighted. Now, there are several prints that we ran. The first thing we ran was a Benchy. And with this Benchy, what we were doing is we were running with Creality's high-speed filament. The quality on this was great. First layer was fantastic. You can see no defects, nothing whatsoever. It was a 17-minute Benchy. And, just can't complain about anything that's going on here. Just a great, great print. You can see that. The next thing we did is we ran another model that they have, this cat. Super clean, right? Print in place. And this was also great. And this is using Creality's filament. We also then ran this, and this really showcases their speed. When you run this print, it goes crazy fast, right? And this is vase mode, not really thick, but you can see how quick the print head is moving around. And then as you can see here, the quality is really good. You can see how clean that print is, right? Pretty spectacular there as well. Then what we did is we ran Optimus Prime. So this was a longer print, took 11 hours, but you can see the actual detail. Let me put it here in an angle so you can see that. So you can see the quality there. I didn't really see much, thinking about the way this was printed, it was printed in this orientation. Now, here on the bottom, I thought it did a really good job. I could probably tweak the supports a little bit more so that there isn't the pieces that you see right here that are kind of a little bit rough. But overall, removing the filament or removing the supports from here was really simple. And then when you look at the quality, let me just go ahead and put that right there so you can see that. The quality is really, really good. It's not going to be as good as a resin printer, but for a 3D printer printing at the speeds that this printer was printing, this is really good. Now, the other area that I kind of look at is going to be on the top, because the top, this was the last part that printed. And if you have ever printed like helmets, you tend to see if there's any ringing taking place here. And let me just bring this up really close so you can see this. And keep in mind that all of this was done with stock settings. So you can see there isn't, or very little, I can't see. So right here, this is the top. I would expect to have seen some ringing there. And you can see how clean that is. Let's just make sure you guys can see that piece there, right? So very, very nice. Now, the other thing that we printed here was the base. And I did the base in white. We're gonna spray these and color these. Here you can see the base itself. And the base, again, this was printed in this orientation, no supports. And you can see, again, the symbol here, no supports. You can see how nice that came out because it just printed just like that. And you can see also, there's no ringing. There's no ringing. You can see how nice and smooth this is, which I like. And then the first layer is spectacular. So you have a great, great first layer, right? So those were some of the print samples. Now the printer has finished the firmware upgrade, and we did that in real time. Really cool. Let's go ahead and try a print. I'm going to go ahead and try printing the Benchy because that's a really fast print, and we'll see how fast this goes. So let's go ahead and let's go to the last page. We're going to choose this print. All right, so this is the cool thing about having the clear top. You can actually see everything that's going on. So have the top in place. You can see the drag chain here. You can then also see the tube leading the filament in. And again, what we're printing with is just standard PLA. It is ESUN PLA, but it's not the high-speed versions. And I've been very successful using ESUN as well as Polymaker. Those are my two. ESUN and Polymaker do extremely well. I've been using those on my bamboos. I've been using them on my Anchor Make. I've also been using it on the Elgu fast printer. So also on my QD Max. So all of our fast printers, we've been able to run them successfully with the Polymaker and the ESUN. And then obviously the Creality High Speed, which is designed specifically for this type of printer, work well. So you can see what the startup process is. It's going to go ahead and tap on each area. And then what it will do is it will run a bead of filament. Lighting on this is pretty good too. So the cool thing is that you can turn this off. Now, when this starts up and it starts going through this process, it is at 140, but before it starts, it's going to pop up all the way up to 210. So right now, it's gone through, it did the leveling check, and now what it's doing is it's increasing temperature, and the temperature is going to go up to 210. Right? The bed temperature is already at 60. Now, one of the things I also found is that that bed is very sensitive to fingerprints. So you'll notice that there's a fingerprint, you'll see it in a couple seconds of mine there, and it leaves your fingerprint oil immediately there, and that's going to affect adhesion. So wiping this down with isopropyl alcohol is critical. All right, we're going to come down a little bit. So it is printing, and I'm just going to stay quiet a little bit so that you can hear how loud this is. For a fast printer, it's relatively quiet. Now the fan kicked in. This is where the noise comes in, but it's more like white noise. All right, so now here you can see the actual crazy speed. And right now, 7% of the print is complete. Now, the cool thing about this is that as it's printing, it is also showing you what percentage of the print is complete, not only in percentage, but also visually. I love that, being able to see how much is left. So you can see how well it's doing there. And again, this is using the eSun PLA, and it's just doing extremely, extremely well. The size of this is also pretty cool. At first, I thought, you know what, I'd prefer having a larger print. Obviously, if you're going to be doing any kind of cosplay type, helmets and stuff like that, it's going to be really difficult for this. But this is a good size, especially depending on the kind of parts that you're going to be creating, and any kind of prints that you're doing. At least you'll be able to get them out really quick. I did some prototyping on this. I actually created a bracket for my new Sony camera that was overheating so that it could have a USB fan. And I ran the prototype on this. The prototype took me 5 minutes to print, which was pretty awesome. So I was able to iterate really quick and get a functional camera fan bracket done in not more than 3 tries because of how quickly I was able to do the prototyping and then do a test fit. So I have a nice snug test fit, and it just took me 15 minutes, right? And just to get it done because this was printing so fast. And you can see right there, how much of the benchy. So right now we have 14% of the benchy done. Let me come down so you can see how it looks from the bottom. So this is what I was talking about. You can see clearly what percentage of the benchy is complete. So that's a 16%. We just talked about 7% earlier. And then you can see how much it's being completed. Really, really like that you can see that progression because it kind of gives you a sense of, again, how much is left, right? And it is going to town right now. It's going really crazy as it's doing this. Now I have it on the kitchen table, and the kitchen table is vibrating. You can see it moving a little bit, but not significant because of the actual rubberized feet that it has. That makes a difference in the actual print. All right, so final product. Let's go ahead and open this door. Yes. We'll pull this off the build plate. Came off real nice. Has a little bit of a brim there, but check it out. This is, again, using eSun filament. Notice how nice and clean that is. High speed. And that was a 17-minute benchy. Gotta love it. Great. So guys, that wraps up our review. See you in the next video.